Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. Very happy to welcome from Junior Achievement, Lori McLeese. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
Lori, before we get started, let me just ask you the same thing we seem to ask everyone. How are you doing through all of this? These are crazy times in which we live.
Definitely crazy times. I am doing okay. Have two kids that are about to go off to college, which is a little nerve-wracking. And everything at Junior Achievement, we've done some really neat things. Given what a lot of people have struggled with, I would say that I'm doing pretty well.
Well, that's good to hear, and we just hope all goes great for your kids as well. Are there going to be in-person classes where they're going?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe maybe a little bit here and there, but they're mostly online.
Yeah. How are they doing?
They're ready to go to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're ready to go. So I think they're, young people don't have a lot of fear. So they're ready to go and get back with their friends, etc. So
yes. Totally understandable. You wait all your life for this and then get hit with something unprecedented. Really, really different. It's an amazing group of young people, I think. Their mettle has been tested, and I think they're in line to do something great things in the future. Because, man, they've been through things we have not at their age.
Definitely.
Yeah. And one day they'll tell their grandchildren. I saw that firsthand. Anyway, let's get to Junior Achievement.
Okay.
Again, you're working with young people, and in a normal world, you're busy, but you probably had to take a step back, take a breath, and think, how do we do this from here on? Tell me that process of how you adapted to the world as we know it now.
Sure. I remember the day very vividly back in March when Governor DeWine shut the schools down, and we cover a 15-county area and worked in about 60 different school districts. So right away, the first thing we did was try to communicate to our teachers that we were there for them. Don't worry about Junior Achievement, but if you need us, we're happy to help. And I know that those last couple of months of the school year last year were really, really difficult on our teachers. And so we did what we could to support, but we too were trying to figure out, because so much of our programming throughout our 100-year history has been in-person delivery, how do we stay helpful and relevant? So very thankful to our Junior Achievement National Office and our education team there, because they have completely reinvented our organization in the last 6 months.
Wow.
In terms of what we can offer. It's pretty impressive.
Well, let's get into that reinvention. What kinds of new ideas have come out of this?
So, as you probably know, we do financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness education programs K through 12. We have a suite of programs, 27 different programs. But like I said before, for the most part, our programs were delivered in person by a volunteer in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Junior Achievement USA has really done a great job in terms of taking our programs and creating kind of scenario A, B, C, which is what our school districts are looking at. If they're back in school and everything is normal as is, volunteers allowed in, we still have our traditional delivery method. If they're back in school but volunteers are not allowed in the classroom, we're able to use technology to bring our volunteers directly, we like to say beam in to the classroom to deliver the programs. We also have a semester-long curriculum that is fully online that can be delivered by the teachers. And now we're even working through how to do some of our larger scale events remotely. Wow. And we should be ready in the next couple months in terms of career exploration fairs, and things like that, to be able to work with school districts. And we have parent resources and we have student self-guided resources. So they've really, really reinvented is really the only word I can think of to describe the work that's been done.
Can't imagine that meeting. And it was a Zoom meeting, I'm sure, where National all got together, say, okay, what do we do? And everybody get their heads together. But don't you think we've come up with some good ideas? Necessity is the mother of invention. And I think there's some really good ideas that have come from this that even once this time is done, we've got this thing behind us, we'll probably still continue to do some of these things. Do you agree?
I agree completely. I was just actually on a conference call the other day with all the junior achievement presidents in the U.S. There are 106 of us, and that was one of the questions. And absolutely, these were things that were on our organization's radar, but we had kind of a scaled time frame to create all of this, and they were able to do it very quickly. And yes, I think for some people, getting into a classroom and volunteering and have that time off work is really difficult. But if you can spend an hour at your computer reaching a classroom, I think it really opens up our world as far as volunteers who maybe didn't feel like they had the time before, but now can do it because of the remote environment. So I definitely think, I don't think we will ever go back to doing things the way we did them before.
It's nice to have an in-class volunteer, absolutely, but how many more volunteers you can get when this isn't an option as well? Do they do this live, like FaceTiming with them, or do you record them ahead of time, or both?
Both. So in particular, I know we did do some program delivery in the spring where we recorded lessons, and the student had to watch the lesson, and then there was the curriculum that goes along with it. So that is one way to do it, or we can do it live also. So there are so many different things that we are able to do right now because of all of the redevelopment.
How about the teacher training for the additional stepping up to the plate they're going to be doing through this, which, my gosh, how about our teachers? When you think that they're doing some in-class teaching, then for families who opt to do from home, they're doing that as well. They are really doing 2 or 3 jobs. So, and then I'm sure they realize the impact and the importance that junior achievement offers their students. So they're going to want to get trained for that as well. How is that happening? How are you navigating that?
Well, the beauty of our programs is that the teachers really don't do a lot of the delivery unless they choose a teacher-led program. If they choose a teacher-led program, I think our preference would be to work more on a grade level at a school district versus a single teacher here and there. I think it would be more impactful if we could say, okay, we're going to work with all the 9th grade teachers in these 3 districts, and so we can train them on this particular program. And then they've got their peer support also. Yes. So one thing in particular that we do that I'm excited about that we've just set up is our JA Company program, which is how it all started. It's the entrepreneurship year-long. Kids create a company, they make a product, sell a product. That's how it all got started. The teachers, we have some schools that just do a phenomenal job with that program, and it's very intense. And we have other teachers that, are newer, and they're like, how did you do this? So we've just set up a Slack channel for those teachers to be able to communicate with each other and share ideas. And we're going to try to get them together twice a year to share best practices. So anything that we can do right now, we recognize how difficult things are for our teachers right now, and we want to be there to do anything we can to make it easier for them.
I can't imagine what their reality looks like right now.
And me either.
They care so much for their students, so you see them going above and beyond and talk about getting creative with how to use today's technology. You certainly see that happening. You mentioned exploration fairs. Let's talk about what would that look like, keeping everyone safe.
So I was actually on a training call yesterday, and we also have a board member associated with our local area that works for a technology firm. And there are, believe it or not, platforms out there that can simulate almost like a trade show. So one of the things that's become very, very in demand in terms of JA program is career exploration, and not just at the high school level, but at the middle school and grade school level.
Really?
So there are online platforms available that will simulate a kid going through a trade show and talking to or watching videos of an engineer a human resources specialist, an electrician, a hairdresser, whatever it is they're interested in. So we have the ability to do that. Now that's fresh off the presses. So it's definitely, but imagine with school districts and budget cuts and logistics of sometimes doing a big event like that can be really challenging when you're moving kids around. To be able to do something like this virtually, I think it's really exciting.
Oh, my goodness, yes. With budget cuts, how is JA funded? Is this something that gets government funding? Is this something that you hold fundraisers for? I ought to know, but I don't.
We do not get government funding. So we have a lot of fantastic corporate partners out there that support the work we do. Just you can walk into any employer, and I know people have been hearing this, especially in Ohio for the last couple of years, is they have a lot of difficulty filling their jobs. So they're very invested in the work and career readiness work that we do. Our financial institutions and banks are supportive of us because of the financial literacy education that we provide for students, which really is front and center right now. We're in a situation where we've got the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression, and people really don't have savings. And so teaching financial literacy education is so critical to kids. So we've got a lot of corporate support. We do have some special events. We actually have a few things, golf outings and bowl-a-thons, which obviously our bowl-a-thons were canceled, but we are excited. Our very first golf outing is Monday. Hollow Country Club, and we have a good turnout, and we are going to be socially distant and responsible, but we have another one coming up in a few weeks at Raintree Golf Course, and so that's part of our budget. We also have some foundation support out there. We have a lot of great, some community foundations and private foundations that believe in the work that we do, and then individuals. So we kind of have a mixed bag of support, which is healthy.
Thank goodness for golf outings, right? For that sport.
Right.
That's something we can still do. I know so many people that are depending on that golf outing for their budget this year. We've got business people who tune in. How could a corporation or a company partner with you? It would behoove them to do so. You create great workers.
Absolutely. It would be very easy. They just need to reach out to me, and we can talk about ways to get them engaged. If they have associates that want to volunteer, we can figure out a way to get them into a classroom, most likely virtually this year for programming. And, the one thing that I always like to say is you can't underestimate the value of a mentor in a kid's life. I like to say that I figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up when I was 40. And that's when I switched careers from financial services to nonprofit. I didn't really have that mentor growing up. And that's why I love the work we do, because we are putting people in front of kids to spark inspiration in them about their futures. And I think that is so important. So people don't realize the impact that has on kids. And a lot of our students stay in touch with their JA teachers for years or choose a career based on what their JA volunteer did.
So just going to ask if that ever happened about that relationship. Yes.
Yes, it absolutely does happen. There are some great stories out there about how an accountant came in and talked to our class and did this personal finance class, and I ended up being an accountant. So there are all kinds of stories out there from our JA network that are really pretty inspirational. So we would love to broaden our volunteer base. That is always a challenge. And so that's how businesses can help. And a lot of times companies that send volunteers say they want to do a personal finance class in Tusky Valley. And then what they'll do is then put some financial support with their volunteers. So there's a lot of times there's a match with financial, support and volunteer support that companies do for us.
What's the website?
It's www.ja.org. That is our national website. But if you want our local, that will take you right to our local. All you have to do is area. So
Click on the right area.
Yeah, ja.org is the easiest to remember.
Awesome. ja.org, and then find the locals. So we're supporting our local kids and all the local families. We have got to take a short break. We're visiting with Lori McLeese from Junior Achievement. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community. Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Lori McLeese from Junior Achievement. You can find out everything we're talking about at ja.org. And then be sure to click on our local area one to get connected with all the students that are benefiting here locally. We talked about the fact that there are three main things that you do: financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness. Let's take these apart a little bit at a time. Let's look at financial literacy. I would think right now, children who have never been affected really financially, many are right now, and they're seeing perhaps the importance of saving for a rainy day. But for people who, in 2020, who pretty much had never experienced a really rainy day, this has got to be a shock and an object lesson that no classroom could have constructed to have families live through for some such a very rough time. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Most families in the U.S. have less than $1,000 in savings. So when something like this hits, it just creates a domino effect in terms of, their family and how it affects their family. So, one of the things that I like to say is, I think it's amazing that people are supporting, basic human needs right now, I think, because that's what we need to do. But we need to look at the long game in this also and make sure that we're teaching people to be prepared for situations like this and saving. And I think doing a better job of teaching kids in high school what it means to borrow money, what a healthy interest rate is, what is an okay amount of debt, how do you invest money, what should your living expenses be as a portion of your total income, all of those types of things. I know I did not learn that in school. I did not learn that in high school. I did not learn that in college. I learned that just by living, in my first job. And we need to do a better job of that.
Yeah, most of us learn it the hard way, I could say.
Right, exactly.
And you learn it really well the hard way. But how nice to be able to teach kids the easier way, to get them off on the right foot. I think right now what we're going through is teaching two things. I love the way our pastor put it. He said, money is a horrible master, but it's a great servant. So to be able to have enough set aside that at times like this, we're able to share and look at those people in need and be able to help them, what a better place to be in. We can't help anyone if we're hungry ourselves. So it is a great learning experience, and great for the younger a child can learn it, the better. It's not all important. It's not that it's important, but it's as a tool to be able to help others. There lies its importance. What do you teach them in financial literacy?
So beginning with grade school, we teach them, it's kind of a trade and barter. They're giving a certain commodity and another student's giving something, and if they want it, they have to orchestrate a trade. Just very basic knowledge of what's a want and what is a need. And just the introduction of, you have this much money, and this is, these are all the different things that you could be purchasing. And again, it's a lot about that want and need. So that's the younger level. As we get into the high school level, it's much more about even things like, what is a checking account? What is a savings account? What is the stock? How do you borrow? Credit card interest rates, things like that. Setting a budget, developing a budget. And we even have, we have tools out there that kids can look at different careers and how much they're going to make versus the cost of that education to do that type of work. So that's kind of the very high level overview of financial literacy. And from being a former banker, I'm very passionate about this. It was very evident when you work in banking that we just don't have a basic level of financial literacy really in this country.
What's their reception of it? How do kids receive that when they're forced with it? That is the main thing I taught our children about money. It's in our lives to teach us how to set priorities. And how do they receive that news? You can't have everything you want.
I think in theory they receive it really well.
Sure.
Our hope that is in practice that they take what they've learned and they implement it. So I think kids want to be financially responsible, and we're there to help give them the tools to do that.
It gets more interesting than when you merge two lives in marriage and everybody's got different needs and wants, and then you had some kids with some additional needs and wants, and then we all learn how to juggle that.
For certain, yes.
Let's move on to, I want to save entrepreneurship for last. Let's go to work readiness. I'm amazed that children as young as elementary are starting to make career goals other than I want to be Superman.
Yeah. So a lot of kids that we work with, their worlds and their communities are fairly small. They don't have a lot of exposure to different people with different backgrounds. So what we like to do, even at an elementary level, is bring people into the classroom that have different types of careers, and the little guys love that. So it's really just high level when they're young. Have the veterinarian go in and talk about their career. I don't think they'd be super excited to hear from a banker, but we do that. Sorry to the bankers out there. Little kids.
My grandpa was a banker. It's an important job, too. That's right.
No, it is very, very much right now, especially.
Yes, for sure.
But really just exposure and kind of opening up their worlds to different careers. And as we get into middle school and even high school, one of the things that we hear from employers is not only do they not have the people to fill their jobs because there's a skills gap, but also it's all of those soft skills that we live in this virtual age and age of technology, and teaching kids to look someone in the eye and shake their hand and appropriate cell phone use at work, and showing up on time and communicating with your supervisor if you need time off. Just all of that's what we call being work ready. And where it seems like common sense,
yes,
it's not. I mean, that's something, I don't know, I think I learned that on my first job. But if we can prepare kids before they step foot in their first job, that here are some, soft skills that will help you be successful, we'll get them on the right path.
Again, so important. And I would guess that those things will be taught in the home. I know the handshake part, although that might be a thing of the past. I think we're going to be doing something different than shaking hands. But
not a lot
go ahead
right now.
Yeah, that was important. My husband made sure our boys knew how to do a firm handshake, but now they're just waving like everybody else. So, yes, those soft skills are important. I'm curious as to the areas and the school districts that you're in. We would hope that children who maybe before you entered their lives didn't think that some of these jobs or professions would even be available to them. Does junior achievement open up a whole new world to children who maybe even never thought that college was in their future, but that this would get them thinking forwardly that I want to shoot for this?
Yeah. So our tagline is that we want students to grow up and own their economic success. So one of the things that we do try to teach is that there are lots of different pathways for that. One of the areas right now where there's a significant gap are in our trades. You can earn an amazing living being an electrician or a plumber or a drywall contractor or what have you. So, but we also do want to open up the world of possibilities to kids that didn't think that they could go to college, that they can go to college. And there's so many great 2-year and community colleges that make that goal so much more financially achievable to do. So we really like I think sometimes we tend to push our kids in one direction, and this is the way that you're going to be successful in life. And I think that you can be successful doing almost anything. I was told don't work in nonprofit by a lot of people. Do that in your free time. And I didn't, I started listening to what I wanted to do, like I said, when I was 40, and I'm doing just fine now.
Yes.
But just being able to figure out what you love and what you're passionate about and transition that into providing a healthy life for yourself, a healthy financial life for yourself.
That's success. What do you
Exactly.
like? What do you like? What are you good at? What are you gifted in? Go for that. And
Yep.
yes, that is success. Okay, the fun one I think of, and the what I think of as junior achievement is entrepreneurship. You get to see some real creativity in these kids, don't you?
We do. So this is where it all started, the JA Company program. We had our 100-year anniversary in 2019, and it was all started with the JA Company program. So we're very lucky in our area that we have a lot of schools still participating in this program and having a lot of success with this program. And it really takes, we have lots of different entrepreneurship programs, but this is kind of our flagship. And we have a wonderful teacher and volunteer combination at North Canton Hoover, Lake High School. We had a great team there this year, and it just takes a lot of work on the part of the volunteer and the teacher because it's a year-long program. And you really, they create a company. They have a checking account. They have to figure out how to manufacture a product. They have to sell a product. They have to put together an annual report, a commercial, a trade show booth.
Wow.
It is very comprehensive. It's a very deep entrepreneurship experience. And that particular program, every year there's a national competition, and it's called the Junior Achievement National Student Leadership Summit. And this year we had 2 of our teams. They only take 15 teams from across the United States, and we had 2 of them from our area, and it was the team from Lake and the team from North Canton Hoover. And the team from Lake High School actually won the FedEx Global Possibilities Award, which really recognizes a company that is invested in creating sustainable jobs in a global economy. So it was really, it was fair. Their product was fair trade tapestries, and it was really neat.
So
Sharp
cool.
kid.
Very proud of our local kids and very proud of our local junior achievement and all you do. Lori McAleese, thank you so much for all you bring to our community.
Thank you for giving me the time to talk about it on your show. I appreciate it.